Hello, it's Elliot. Um, I wanted to do a short video about my personal history um, with, regards to coming to terms with being transgender. It took me a while to figure out that anything was different. Um, as a very young child, I did have some concerns about my voice, but I never really got the sense like trapped in a woman's body or things like that nature. I never really felt trapped in my body. I know a lot of people do feel that way. Some people don't though. And either or is all right. So I don't mean to discredit either having those feelings or not having those feelings, because you can be trans and not feel trapped in your body, and you can be trans and you can feel trapped in your body. Um, in my case, it was kind of an interesting way to look at it. Was that I was jealous of um, of my peers. I guess I was jealous of my peers' bodies. I don't know how to say that in an okay way. I just recall being very confused and feeling like penis envy had some credit to it, while the rest of Freud's work didn't. I didn't really make the connection for many years until middle school, and that is when things really got confusing. Um, I think that's true for many people. Middle school is sometimes a bad time. um, for me, it was pretty weird. Um, for one thing, I suppose I felt different. I didn't know why I felt different. And the first thing that I realized that led me to start thinking that I was a bit different was that realization that I was bisexual. And that is something that kind of tortured me. I felt very at odds with it, even though now it seems very trivial. Like, well, yeah, you're attracted to multiple genders. Shouldn't everyone be? So it's a bit odd. I guess I wrestled with it, and it's kind of weird. But middle school is also when I realized that I was transgender. It's when I started looking up different sort of ways of being, different ways to be androgynous in the world, different ways to be genderqueer, and that's when I learned the terms like genderfuck and genderqueer and that sort of thing. And that really resonated with me. And I kind of got the sense with some of the people who felt like they were both genders or neither gender or some other fluid notion of gender. I really identified with those sort of feelings of feeling in a gender that isn't really categorized very well. And that's when I stumbled upon, transgenderism and learning what transgender means in binary terms. Because the way I've been going about my entire transgender journey, for the most part, is like female to male. And it's really not quite, it doesn't quite capture it, but it does, it's true that that's the first way that I was really able to understand being transgender and what that meant. I learned about the surgeries that transgender people had and I learned that they were very marginalized in society, and these became things to me that were evidence that I couldn't be that way. I couldn't, I felt like I would be rejected by everyone. I felt like I would be outcast, I'd be a freak. All these horrible things are what I started to learn right with the realization, right just at the moment of realization that I was transgender. Suddenly, there's all these negative messages out there. And I think that's really sad that, that was, a number of years ago. But it's sad that a child's first introduction to transgender is hateful, So that's when I realized that. But it was too much at that point. I really couldn't stick with it. It was too difficult. It was too different. I couldn't incorporate it into my being in a way that was satisfactory at that time in my life. So I took it and I put it on a little shelf in my head and let it just collect dust. And shortly after that, after middle school, I went to high school. In high school, I came out as a lesbian. And at that point, people were seeing me as, okay, well, she is this dyke kind of character. And, I had a sort of mix of masculine and feminine sort of characteristics about me. Cut my hair very short. I would wear, like masculine blazers and stuff like that. So, but then I'd wear those with like cute shoes and stuff. So it was very, it wasn't hostile, which is nice, but it was confusing for everyone involved, I think. And it wasn't until college that I really had basically a breakdown. I had a breakdown when I couldn't really live. I couldn't live anymore. I was being somebody who I wasn't. And I couldn't live anymore. And so that's when I really came to the realization, like, I have to do something about this or game over. I really have to figure out what's going on and, put my best foot forward. And that's when, through the support of my friends, I came out as transgender, as a trans guy. And the weird thing about this was, despite that first glimpse of transgender life that I experienced, which was unsatisfactory surgeries and hatred and hate crimes and bad words and all that stuff, I was welcomed. I was welcomed by my college campus for the most part. My housing directors had, some issues with me, but the students were very accepting, which was an absolute blessing because I was so vulnerable at that time that, had the slightest thing gone wrong, I really could have been in bad shape. Well, that's a bit, that's quite a bit for now. But that's a bit of my personal history as far as coming to terms with being a transgender. I'm sure I'll have more to say on that topic, but that's all for now. So I'm gonna post this in a video, and there'll be a video on Friday too once I get my shot. Alright, thank you for watching if you've watched this far. Thank you for subscribing to the channel if you've subscribed to the channel. Thank you for watching videos if you're watching videos. Just thank you for your support. Thank you. Goodbye.